Around 2200 BC, the Old Kingdom of Egypt is going to come to an end because a result of a combination of internal corruption, people wanting power, the inability to keep resources going, and internal fighting among the people is going to cause a time period where the people of Egypt are going to begin to rebel and the pharaoh system is going to come to an end. And so for about 150 to 200 years or so, the area of Egypt is going to be ruled by local nobles and no real pharaoh. That's until around the 2000 BC time, and that's when the pharaohs are going to retake power again in Egypt, and this is known as the Middle Kingdom. Around the same time period, a tribe from the Mesopotamia region called the Hyksos are going to invade Egypt and take over for approximately 200 years. Then a man from the city of Thebes named Akhmos is going to retake power, rally the troops of Egypt, and drive the Hyksos out. Now, at this point in time, the Egyptians begin what's known as the New Kingdom. And during this time period, they become extremely powerful. They start driving their territory boundaries all the way into certain parts of Mesopotamia, the western areas of Africa, and all the way down into Nubia. This is what's known as the New Kingdom, where new trade routes are opened up and Egypt is at the height of their power. One pharaoh in particular that's of interest is Queen Hatshepsut. Now, there had been other female pharaohs of Egypt. However, Queen Hatshepsut was different. All the other female pharaohs of Egypt were women who were basically ruling in place because their sons or their stepsons were too young to become full-fledged pharaohs. So they were kind of a co-regent. That's what happened with King Tut and his mother. Now, Queen Hatshepsut was different because she, unlike the other women who were just waiting until their sons could take over as pharaohs, Queen Hatshepsut actually ruled as a man. So she wasn't addressed as queen, actually. They addressed her as pharaoh. Another pharaoh during the New Kingdom of great interest is Ramesses the Great. Now, as we've learned earlier, Ramses the Great was famous for being a war general who fought another powerful tribe out of Mesopotamia, the Hittites. But also, Ramses the Great is known for creating incredible structures and monuments in temples, and also for living to be well into his 80s at a time period when most people only lived into their 30s. Ramses the Great actually believed himself to be a god. Another interesting thing of note about Ramses is that he had over 100 children. He already had 21 sons by the time that he was 21. Now, in Egypt, there was a division of labor, much like there was in other parts of the world at the time, including Mesopotamia. You had scribes, people whose job it was to keep records. The Egyptians actually even had an early form of paper that they could write on with their styluses called papyrus. There were also the artists, artisans, and architects whose jobs were to create jewelry, design monuments, and to help shape new kingdoms. Next were the merchants, and these were the people who basically bought and sold goods. The soldiers were people whose job it was to protect Egypt. Farmers, the most popular job in Egypt, were the people who grew food. There were slaves in Egypt, but the slaves were mostly people who were ex-convicts or other people captured, prisoners of war. And slaves, maybe unlike other parts of the world, actually did have some basic rights and in some cases could gain their own freedom again. Life in Egypt, the mothers basically took care of the homes and the fathers worked. However, women did have some rights, and there is some evidence to suggest that women owned property in some cases and even signed contracts. Children went to school to about age 14, where they learned hieroglyphs and math, and around the age of 14, they would leave school and take on the same profession as their fathers. Well, that's it for now for the Middle and New Kingdoms of Egypt. Take care.